Good evening and welcome to the Planning Board meeting for April 22nd, 2019. We're going to call the meeting to order. It is 6:03. We'll start with the invocation given by Vice Chair Eaton, and I'll lead us in our flag salute. If you'll stand.
Please put your hand on your heart. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the ability to come together tonight, and we pray that you will guide this meeting so that we can provide fair and respectful judgment for the issues before us. Amen.
Please join me in saluting our flag.
I pledge allegiance.
Can we have the roll call?
Yes, Chair. Board Member Liu,
Present.
Board Member Atukanian,
Present.
Board Member Hadian,
Present.
Vice Chair Eaton,
Here.
and Chair Rosati.
I am here.
All the board members are present.
Thank you. Do we have any announcements?
No announcements.
So we have two projects this evening. If you're here to speak on any of those projects, please complete the yellow card and hand them up to the clerk. We'll start with the first project, number 18-0005430, conditional use permit, 1033 North Hollywood Way, Target. This is the time and place for hearing on project number 18-0005430 concerning the application for conditional use permit to allow the incidental off-site sale and consumption of beer, wine, and distilled spirits in conjunction with the operation of existing Target retail store. The applicant is Beth Abulafia. On behalf of Target, the project is located at 1033 North Hollywood Way. Before we begin, do any planning board members have any legal or other conflict of interest regarding this project?
No. No.
No.
No. Have any planning board members had any communications, including written, oral, with the applicant or the applicant's representative or any other person?
No. No.
No.
No. Mr. Ramirez, have the notices required by law been given?
Yes, they have.
Are there any written communications on this matter?
We did not receive any written communications on this item.
Thank you. Will the representative of the Community Development Department please introduce yourself and summarize the matter for us?
Good evening, Chair Rosati and members of the Planning Board. My name is Malciel Medina, and I am an assistant planner with the Planning Division. I'm here today to discuss with you the proposed project located at 1033 North Hollywood Way. Can I please get the slide? Thank you. The applicant requesting a conditional use permit is Target Retail Stores. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for the off-site sales of beer, wine, and distilled spirits. The conditional use permit would not allow for the consumption of alcohol to occur inside the Target or anywhere on the premises. The existing Target is located on Hollywood Way between Chandler Boulevard and Magnolia Boulevard. The Target currently operates in a 23,132 square foot building that faces Hollywood Way. Existing uses surrounding the site include retail, office, media-related, and housing. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to be permitted to sell beer, wine, and distilled spirits for off-site consumption only. Granting the proposed CUP will not allow customers to consume alcohol inside the store or anywhere on the premises. The granting of the CUP will allow the applicant to obtain a Type 41 alcohol license through the Department of Alcohol Beverage Control Department. Through the CUP, a condition has been placed to limit the hours of the sale of alcohol between the hours of 8 a.m. and midnight. The granting of the conditional use permit will not require any alterations to be made to the exterior of the building. The sale of the alcohol will be displayed within an existing refrigeration and shelving area inside of the store. The total area where the alcohol will be displayed encompasses less than 1% of the total floor area. The inclusion of the sales of alcohol for off-site consumption is considered as an incidental use to the primary retail use. Because of the incidental nature of the sales of alcohol, additional parking beyond the existing 37 on-site spaces is not required. After analysis of the proposed conditional use permit requests, staff has determined that the CUP is compatible with the surrounding land uses and that there will be no negative impacts caused to the surrounding area. Because the proposal is considered as an incidental use to the target retail store, staff has determined that there will be no increase in noise or traffic. The nature of the store in itself is set up as a neighborhood-serving retail use, which is not typical of the traditional targets that draw regional clientele. As a result, the CUP request will meet the findings of the public convenience and necessity. Staff also has determined that because the CUP will not allow for the consumption of alcohol to occur on the premises, no further negative impacts can be foreseen to the surrounding land uses. Therefore, staff recommends the Planning Board approval of Resolution Number 18-000540 for a conditional use permit to allow for the off-site sales and consumption of alcohol at the existing target. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we open up the hearing to the public, I would invite the applicant or their representative to address the planning board. You will have a maximum time of 15 minutes to make your presentation.
Good evening. I'm Beth Abalafia, and I'm here representing Target. As staff indicated, we're requesting approval of a conditional use permit to allow the incidental sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits in closed bottles for off-site consumption only, in conjunction with the existing Target store. Target's been operating this new store at this location for the past just about a year, I believe. And we would like to be able to offer customers the convenience of being able to purchase alcoholic beverages as part of the grocery selection that Target offers at this store. It is a purely incidental amenity for customers. Target is not a destination for alcohol sales. As staff indicated and as the materials you have show, the display area allocated to alcoholic beverages within the grocery section is very small and less than 1% of the overall store sales floor area. So we don't expect it to change the character of Target's operations in any way. Target takes very seriously the responsibility that comes with selling alcoholic beverages. They have an alcohol sales training program that all the cashiers will be required to complete and pass a test before they're put in a position of cashiering alcoholic beverages. There will be no self-checkout of alcoholic beverages. All alcohol purchases will have to be transacted through a cashier. Target also has safeguards built into its point of sale system to verify customers' ID before making an alcohol sale. So there are numerous safeguards put into place by Target just as company policy to make sure that their sales are handled responsibly. We have no objection to the conditions that have been proposed by staff, and I'd be happy to answer any specific questions that the commission might have.
Thanks so much. There's going to be an opportunity for that in just a moment. Does that conclude?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now open up the hearing for many persons in the audience who wish to speak on this matter. Each person may address the planning board for a maximum time of 3 minutes. I only have cards for item number 2. Is anyone here to speak on item number 1? Seeing none, would the representative of the Community Development Department like to make further comments?
No further comments.
Thanks. Does the applicant wish to make any further comments? No further comments. Thank you. Does the board have any questions for staff or the applicant? Vice Chair Eaton.
I have a question for the applicant. Good evening.
Good evening.
You mentioned the alcohol training for employees that are there. What does that involve?
It involves training the employees about examining IDs, what to look for when checking for IDs, to scan, first of all, to ask customers for ID before making any alcohol purchases, to examine the ID, to scan the ID through the age detection machine that is tied to their point of sale system, make sure the customer is of age, what to look for on IDs, how to handle a situation if a customer's ID doesn't pass the verification, or if they think there's a problem with the purchaser, to call a supervisor and that sort of thing.
Okay, that answers my question. And then they have to be 18 to sell alcohol, correct?
That's
The employee?
correct.
Okay.
And the cashiers, when they log into the system to start their shift, it recognizes who the cashier is and has their birth date entered. So they have to be 18 in order to conduct an alcohol sale.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant or staff? Seeing none, I now declare the hearing closed. How would like the planning board like to deliberate? Board Member Liu.
Thank you to staff and to the applicant for your comments. I find this to be very straightforward, and I'm supportive of Target Express receiving the alcohol license, the CUP, in that they've met the findings for it being a public convenience, and I don't see any. There were no negative comments to this, and the one comment we did get was positive, and noted that they didn't have to. This particular customer wouldn't have to go to two different places to purchase the alcohol and then purchase their goods at a Target Express. So I'm in favor.
Thank you. Board Member Atukania.
I'm able to make the findings as outlined in the report, and are in support of Target receiving basically being allowed to sell alcohol as an incidental use.
Board Member Hadian.
I can also support the CUP. It's less than 1% of the total sales area. No self-checkout and trained staff. I can make findings.
And Ms. Eaton.
Can I make a motion?
I'm just going
Not
to
yet?
specifically say, just to address the issue, the traffic impacts have been far less than that has been anticipated at Target on that location. The alcohol sales are less than 1% of the square footage of the store. So I'm also in favor of allowing the CUP. So please go ahead and make that.
Okay, I move that the Planning Board of the City of Burbank approve project number 18-0005430 for a conditional use permit for an existing Target Express store at 1033 North Hollywood Way.
I second.
We have a first, we have a second. Is there any more discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Anyone abstaining? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to item number 2 on our agenda. This is the time and place for meeting on project number 17001265 to receive public comments on the draft environmental impact report for 777 North Front Street project at 777 North Front Street. Before we begin, do any planning board members have any legal or other conflict of interest regarding this matter?
No.
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 Have any planning board members had any communications, including written, oral, with any person regarding this matter?
No.
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 I can just say that a couple of neighbors asked me about this project. They actually thought it was in a different location than where it was, and I just answered their questions without any other further comments. So, Mr. Ramirez, have the notices by law required been given?
Yes, they have.
Do we have a complete file of exhibits, correspondence, and other documents?
Yes.
Are there any written communications on this matter?
On a daily basis, it's currently the public review period, so those are coming into the city.
Will the representative of the Community Development Department please introduce yourself and summarize the matter for us?
Yes, good evening, Chair Rosati and members of the Planning Board and the public. I am Leonard Boucher, Senior Planner with the Planning Division. And could you please bring up? Tonight, I will be providing an overview of the 777 North Front Street project and draft environmental impact report, EIR, and I'll give a summary of the CEQA review process. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to receive comments from the public regarding the draft EIR that was released on March 22nd. The public review period for the document started on March 22nd and ends on May 6th. Please note that no decisions will be made tonight. We will not be responding to comments tonight. Comments will be responded to in writing as part of the final EIR for the project. This slide gives you an overview of where the project site is located. It's a vacant 8-acre site that's bounded by Burbank Boulevard to the north, Front Street to the west, Magnolia Boulevard overpass to the south, and the 5 freeway to the east. This slide here shows you the proposed site plan. You can see the residential buildings would be to the right of the slide, and then the hotel portion, to the left of the slide, and the hotel portion would be to the right of the slide. The project proposes one 7-story building containing a total of 252 residential units at 272,162 square feet. One 8-story building that contains a total of 321 residential units at 346,644 square feet, 1,067 square feet of commercial retail space, one 7-story building that contains 307 hotel rooms at 212,250 square feet, and a total of 1,462 parking spaces and an integrated parking structure with 1 level of subterranean parking and up to 7 levels of above-grade parking. This photo here shows a rendering of the project. This would be looking at the residential portion of the project, looking north towards Front Street. The applicant is seeking the following entitlements. Number 1, a specific plan amendment to change the Burbank Center Plan land use designation from mixed-use commercial, office, industrial to city center commercial. Number 2, a zoning map amendment to change the zoning designation from auto dealership to planned development. Number 3, a development agreement between the city and the applicant. Number 4, a tract map to subdivide the property into multiple lots. And number 5, the planning board will have an opportunity to review and make a recommendation to the city council for the entitlements and the final EIR at a later date. Now I'll briefly go over the CEQA process and the purpose of CEQA. The city is required to prepare the draft EIR for the project per the requirements of the California Environmental Quality Act, also known as CEQA. The purpose of CEQA is to disclose the significant environmental impacts of proposed actions, identify ways to avoid or reduce environmental impacts. These are the mitigations. Consider feasible alternatives to the proposed project and enhance public participation in the planning process. This slide shows the process of CEQA. Circled in red is the spot that we're at right now. Essentially, the city started with an initial study about a year ago. We prepared the initial study and determined that an EIR was needed. After that, the city circulated the notice of preparation and held a scoping meeting before work on the EIR began. The draft EIR was completed, and we are currently within the 45-day public review period. That review period began on March 22nd, and it ends on May 6th. Once comments are received, the written responses to comments will be put in the final EIR. Again, tonight we will not be responding to comments, but instead we'll respond to tonight's comments in writing in the final EIR. The final EIR, as well as the project, will be presented to the Planning Board and City Council at a later date. The issues that were evaluated in this EIR include aesthetics, air quality, cultural and tribal cultural resources, geology and soils, greenhouse gas emissions, hazards and hazardous materials, hydrology and water quality, land use planning, noise, population and housing, public services and recreation, transportation and traffic, utilities and service systems, and energy effects. CEQA requires that we consider feasible alternatives to the project. This EIR included 4 alternatives to the proposed project. The first is the no project alternative, which means leaving the site vacant. CEQA requires that this no project alternative be considered for all projects. Next, we looked at alternative number 2, which would develop the site as allowed under the current auto dealership zoning designation and would result in reduced construction and operational impacts and reduced traffic trips. However, despite the reduction, the EIR found this alternative would result in the same significant and unavoidable impacts as the proposed project. Next, we looked at alternative number 3, which eliminates the hotel from the project, but would still propose the development of 573 residential units and 1,067 square feet of retail space. The construction and operational impacts would be similar to the project, and traffic trips would be reduced. However, again, despite those reductions, the EIR still found that this alternative would result in the same significant, unavoidable impact as the proposed project. And the fourth alternative considered the reduction of the project by 45%, which would result in 315 residential units, 169 hotel rooms, and 587 square feet of retail space. Construction and operational impacts would be reduced, including traffic trips. However, again, despite that reduction, the EIR still found that this alternative would result in the same significant and unavoidable impacts as the proposed project. Mitigation measures that were identified in the EIR can be found starting on page ES-8 within the document for the items that were studied. However, not everything that came up as an issue could be mitigated. There were significant and unavoidable transportation impacts. Up to 4 intersections are significantly impacted, and of those 4, 2 of the intersections cannot be mitigated. Therefore, they are significant and unavoidable. Tonight, we will be soliciting comments from the public. We won't respond to the comments, but we'll address them in writing in the final EIR. The Planning Board and City Council will consider the project and final EIR at a future date yet to be scheduled. And the public hearing or the public comment period for the EIR will remain open until May 6th, so we can continue to take comments through that method as well. That concludes staff's presentation. The consultant that assisted us in the preparation of the EIR is here, as well as the applicant and staff for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now open the public meeting to hear from any persons in the audience who wish to to comment on the draft environmental impact report. Each person may address the planning board for a maximum time of 5 minutes. I'm going to start with the cards that I have here. David Kirsch.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is David Kirsch. I'm the Executive Director of the Carpenters Contractors Cooperation Committee. We're the labor management organization that's comprised of the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters and the signatory union contractors. I'm here to show our support for this project, which is a solid example of quality development that makes sense and adds value to the community. It will turn a long vacant dirt lot into much needed housing. It's close to downtown Burbank, adjacent to the freeway, so it's transit friendly. It will create a publicly accessible transit plaza for the community. It will add retail and hotel for the community and businesses. And as the image showed, I mean, it's just visually dynamic. Our organization is out there every day to ensure that responsible contractors are the ones building the projects in our communities. We strive to make sure that the term quality development is about development in the broadest sense, from land use and urban planning and aesthetic features to the types of jobs that are created. In terms of this project, Latera has reached out and shown a strong willingness to work with top quality, responsible subcontractors that pay good wages, that support middle-class jobs, and rewarding training opportunities. We're looking forward to continuing this partnership, and we would like to just, again, show our strong support for a very good project. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Freeman?
Commissioners, I'm the Vice President of Ocean Park Mechanical. We do both plumbing and mechanical. We are a union contractor. We love when projects like this come up because it puts a big labor force to work. It allows apprenticeship programs, which is something I'm very passionate about. Not all of our youth can go to college or make that choice or want to do that. So skilled labor comes into the point that these are 4-year or 5-year apprenticeship programs that pay incredible wages. Our journeyman fitter plumber makes just over $100,000 a year, plus a full benefit package. And without these kind of projects, those jobs wouldn't exist. So Latera is a good organization. We've worked with parts of their group on many projects. That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Ruger?
Hello, my name is Nate Ruger. I'm a citizen of Burbank. My first job ever was working at Warner Brothers as a child actor, and I immediately fell in love with the city. And I've now been living here for many years. I've lost count, more than 10. And part of what I love about so much of the culture, the city, the shops, and everything, the only thing that has made me consider moving is finding affordable housing. And my wife and I have been doing everything we can to scrape by with the housing that we've been able to find, but this particular development looks fantastic, and it's the kind of development that, as soon as affordable housing is available, will probably be the first knocking on the door to see if we could possibly move there. And we have many friends and colleagues who we've been trying for years, since we've been out here in Burbank, to ask them to come on out, join us. The water's fine out here. But the lack of affordable housing has really been the main thing deterring them from coming out here. So I think this would be another thing to bring more business, more people, and make Burbank a better place. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Spear? How are you?
Doing well, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Kate Spear, and I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of Unite Here Local 11, the Hospitality Workers Labor Union. We represent over 30,000 workers across the region, many of whom work and live near this project site. As you may know, low-income workers are disproportionately affected by poor air quality and the harmful impacts of greenhouse gas emissions, or GHGs. It is critical that we thoroughly examine and question the ways in which this project will contribute to and exacerbate this environmental trend. The project's draft EIR analyzes GHG impacts by relying on consistency with the city's greenhouse gas reduction plan, which is a type of climate action plan also known as a CAP. However, several issues cause serious doubt about the efficacy of Burbank's CAP and the EIR's reliance on the CAP. First, the city's CAP was adopted back in 2013 and is premised on outdated data and goals set by the city and the California Air Resource Board. Second, since its adoption, the CAP has not been updated, and the city has yet to release routine annual reports to monitor its implementation and effectiveness. And third, the project's draft EIR fails to provide any greenhouse gas modeling, which is in sharp contrast with other city projects that also rely on the city's CAP. These observations should raise serious questions about whether the draft EIR serves as an adequate informational document assessing the project's actual impact on the environment. We urge the city to require recirculation of the draft EIR with meaningful information and analysis of the project's GHG and air quality impacts, as well as provide substantial evidence that the city's CAP is being effectively implemented to reach its purported short-term and long-term goals. This lack of thorough environmental analysis is not our only area of concern, however. We also urge you to include in this project the maximum amount of affordable housing that can be included. According to the California Department of Housing and Community Development's Housing Element Annual Progress Report, Burbank failed in 2018 to meet all of its housing goals for very low, and moderate income thresholds. This situation will not improve unless the city requires developers to take immediate steps towards creating the most amount of housing possible for low and very low income levels. Our members, many of whom fall into these income categories, struggle to find affordable housing near their Burbank jobs. We urge you to consider seriously whether or not this project will contribute to the city's affordable housing stock to the fullest extent possible, and how that consideration necessarily affects your working community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ruskin?
Hello, my name is Elon Ruskin. Thank you for your time. I also live, rent, and work in Burbank, and like many of my colleagues, I've certainly felt the pinch of the increasing housing prices, and my rent in particular. And ultimately, these increases are driven by scarcity and by a housing shortage, and there is no way to relieve that scarcity without constructing more housing. So I am very excited to see that so much residence is being brought into downtown Burbank in the most walkable and dense part of our city already. One thing I will notice is I was unaware that there was a transit plaza included in this plot, which I think would be something that would be more helpfully called out in future documentation of this, because I was going to ask, can we think about the bus lanes? But if there's a transit plaza, perhaps there is one already. One other thing I'd also like to mention is it's important that we retain the hotel part of this, because that would enable them to better subsidize the residential part. If the entire profit on this area has to come entirely from the residential, I get the worry that they're going to be pinching us on price a little bit more. So more housing, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Adam Chuzwiski?
Hello, my name is Jonathan Adamchevsky. I am a resident of Burbank. I've lived here for 7 years. I work in the city. I have children in 3 separate schools in the city. And I am thoroughly in support of this project and excited to see a development at this scale being considered for Burbank. I think I see there as economic advantages and advantages in terms of bringing people who work in Burbank into Burbank. And I consider it likely there is an environmental aspect, but the biggest benefit I see is one a human aspect of reducing commutes. People who work in Burbank are able to live close to where they work, spend less time in their cars, spend more time enjoying recreation, time with families, and being part of the community. And I mention my children in the schools as community involvement is something that requires time and to be able to be close to where those things are happening. And I see this kind of development as being advantageous to that goal and growing Burbank as a city with a thriving community of families who are able to be involved in the activities in the city. I would echo the call for close connection with transit options, bus, and rail, and bike lanes and such. I think this would be an asset for this development, and would also agree and support the pursuit of a greater affordable housing for people to live in this city, to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Catone? Good evening.
Good evening, Chair Rosati and members of the Planning Board. My name is Mary Catone. I'm President and CEO of the Burbank Community YMCA, and I am also a resident of Burbank. I'm here tonight to express my support for the project for LaTerra Select Burbank. LaTerra reached out to us early on in the planning stages of this project and expressed a true desire to understand the Burbank community. We spoke at length about the importance of having safe, walkable communities. And as a necessary driver of active and healthy lifestyles for all of our citizenry here in Burbank. I spoke personally about what a challenge it was for me to ride my bike from the Media District to downtown for a walk and bike to work day. It was a rather dangerous escapade, something I endeavor to do nonetheless, and something I endeavor to do every year. So having improved two-way bicycle lanes along Front Street and Burbank Boulevard is huge. Not to mention the public plaza with elevator and staircase providing access to Magnolia Boulevard, creating that link to downtown Burbank and the Metrolink station. I am certain this will prove to be a benefit to all of the businesses that call downtown Burbank their home, which includes our beloved Burbank Community YMCA. I'm also thrilled to know that after 25 years of traveling over the Burbank Bridge on my way to work, the old eyesore that has been the underused property along the freeway will hopefully now be replaced with contemporary buildings, offering considerable public space, open space, and new outdoor gathering places. I look forward not only to new and modern buildings for hotel and much-needed housing, but also a new community neighborhood. Thank you.
Ms. Sebastian?
Good evening, Commissioner and members of the Planning Board. My name is Susan Sebastian. I'm with the Boys and Girls Club of Burbank and Greater East Valley, and I'm here representing the club, myself, and my CEO, Shannon Warren. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening about the LaTerra project. We look forward to the residential and hotel project because it will bring the type of growth that we think is beneficial to our community. With approximately 573 new apartments, including market rate and affordable apartments, it'll be accessible to a wide range of people, and it's also close to a mass transit station. There are many individuals who work in the city and are unable to find housing, so they must commute from other communities. As a local nonprofit working with the diverse needs, we see how more rental units of this type are needed. At the Boys and Girls Club, we provide after-school and summer programs to those that need a safe place for their children to be supervised. Many of our lower-income families struggle to find housing, so we strongly support the new project that this will create. Additionally, we understand that millions of dollars in new tax revenue can be generated to the city, and nearly 2,000 jobs will also be available to people. We are, both of which are very important in contributing to the future economic health of our city. We believe this project provides valuable benefits to the community, and we hope the city will approve it. We believe it's the right step in terms of addressing our affordable housing situation. Thank you all.
Thank you. Mr. Flavin? Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Tom Flavin. I'm CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, and I submitted a letter which I'd like to read into the record for you. On behalf of the Burbank Chamber of Commerce, we want to publicly acknowledge our support for the Laterra mixed-use project at 777 North Front Street for the following reasons. The project site has been vacant since 1991, and it's time to put it back on the tax rolls as a productive revenue source. Second, with a severe housing shortage in Burbank, the City Council adopted a policy a few weeks ago of providing 12,000 housing units within the next 15 years. This project will add 573 housing units, or almost 5% of that goal. Third, with $820 million in unfunded liabilities in the general fund over the next 20 years, this project will add approximately $5.1 million annually in new general fund revenue, which projected over that same 20-year period provides $102 million, or 12.5% of the unfunded liability. Fourth, the draft EIR assessed 13 study areas with only one, traffic, identified as creating significant impact involving two intersections that are not able to be fully mitigated. We also like the open space, the connectivity to downtown, and the transit plaza components of the project. Given these factors, the Chamber Board of Directors unanimously approved supporting this project on April 18th. We respectfully request the Planning Board to take public comment on the draft EIR tonight and to move forward with the approval of this project after the environmental impact report has been certified. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can't make out the last name. First name's Ernesto.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ernesto Pantoja here on behalf of Sergio Rascon, Business Manager of Labor's Local 300. Not too long ago, about a month ago, I was before you as well on another project in support of it. Today, I'm here to speak on behalf of this project. We are asking you to approve this project because, as I mentioned the last time, when we think about the type of construction jobs we're creating jobs and opportunities for people who normally don't get the chance. One individual who's actually a member of this community moved to Burbank from the Midwest, Indiana Touchette, who we were hoping to have here today, but he's running a concrete port today. He came from the Midwest because he couldn't find work. And he somehow ended up in beautiful Burbank and was able to find a job with, not Largo Concrete, but another concrete company, and has been working steadily for the last year. This is the type of opportunity we create jobs for individuals who are coming out of gangs, previous felonies where they can't find career paths anywhere else, veterans coming home from war who are trying to find some type of dignity because they can't find housing, they can't find work. Unions like the unions you've seen here speak, we give them the opportunity to create a career, be able to buy their first homes, get married. And that's a lot of the things that people don't realize when we talk about why we support construction projects. These are the people we're supporting. A lot of times we don't get the chance to tell the stories of the actual workers. Sometimes you just hear us and you don't get to see the members actually come and speak. But it's really about them. This is what's important to them. And being able to find jobs that are close to their home so they're not driving an hour, 2 hours away and causing more traffic and causing more harm to the environment. When they have jobs like this, good jobs, good paying jobs, where they can keep it local, keep their money invested here, that's what's important. And these types of jobs create those type of opportunities. So we ask you to please support this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hoffman?
Hello, good evening, Planning Board members. I am a longtime Burbank resident, over 30 years. I am a union member. I support the La Tierra project at 77 Front Street. I've noticed that piece of property, a dirt lot with mounds of dirt on it, Circus de Olay. I've seen a lot of things happen with that piece of property in the last 20 years. And I recommend this project because, number one, it's going to help the community, it's going to help our people, it's going to create housing, and it's going to do a lot of good for us instead of letting it be a dirt lot. So please consider that and help push this thing through for us. Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Raper?
Good evening, board members. My name is Josh Raper, local union carpenter. This project has all the components for an ideal scenario here in the Burbank area. First of all, there's going to be over 1,000 construction jobs, well-paying jobs. The citizens should benefit tremendously from this, along with the local tradesmen, like the other union members that are here tonight in support. They want to work locally and use their money here and keep the money locally. Also, the reputable contractors involved have agreed to use a skilled and trained workforce, local apprenticeship programs. All these are vital in the area, in the job market. Also, this has a component of the housing, along with public transportation. It's vital to the area. And the hotel component also brings much needed tourism dollars to our area in lieu of big things like the Olympics coming to town. So the Carpenters fully support this project, and thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Coronado?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Maria Coronado. I'm a resident of the great city of Burbank. As you know, here in Burbank, we have a housing shortage. You've heard a lot about that tonight. This is a mixed-use housing hotel project at 777 Front Street. I speak in support of this project. I'm a union member and a resident of this city. 777 Front contributes to our local economy and creates good union local jobs. 1,674 to be exact, and 247 jobs ongoing after the construction is complete. 777 Front will also provide a connection to the Metrolink and provide parking on site as well. As a Burbank resident, I know we have quite a few jobs here in Burbank and we have people traveling in from out of the city. This will help them live here and work here and keep them off the roads, which will be helpful for those of us who do have to travel. I just want to speak in support of this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the last card is Steve Gertz.
Good evening. My name is Steve Gertis, and I'm here on behalf of over 6,000 members of SMART, Local 105 sheet metal workers. We're here very much in support of this project. It's going to provide over 1,600 good-paying union jobs, creating all kinds of opportunities for local people and local youth to get into apprenticeship programs, to get into the unions. The city of Burbank needs to be competitive with the other cities around the area and bringing forth new projects like this and new opportunities. So that's a good thing. La Terra is going to be using all union jobs, so that's a really good thing. It'll be union jobs for not just my union, but for like 20, 30 other unions. And union members tend to spend locally. When they get their paychecks, they spend them locally. They're not going to the Cayman Islands or someplace. So I'm really happy to support this project, and I hope that you do too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all our speakers. Would the representative of the Community Development Department like to make any further comments?
No further comments.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the Planning Board? Board Member Hadian?
I have a question. We as board members can make comments on EIRs or not? We are recused.
Well, we're gonna be we can, but we're gonna be looking at this project.
But as residents, we can send comments.
Well, you're serving as a board member.
So we probably
So
cannot.
You're actually a decision maker. So you'll see the entire final EIR with all the responses to comments, and that's when you would ask your questions.
Thank you.
Any other comments, Board Member Atakanian?
Just a quick comment about the impact of traffic. I'm not sure, went through it, but I would love to see two-way street back and forth on Front Street. So that would be greatly enhanced because the train station's right there. There's a lot of commute going on, people taking the trains. Those lots are almost full every day. So once this project is added, at least the side of the street that the project sits on should be 2 lanes at minimum. It would be great if both sides were 2 lanes, if that's possibility, but at least one side should be 2 lanes to eliminate some of the issues because everyone's going to be on that street at the same time. That's all.
Board Member Liu?
Thank you, everyone, for commenting tonight. For those, I think, who will be providing future comments, I think it's very helpful, at least for me, it was very helpful to hear support for various alternatives that were offered, that were evaluated in the EIR. For instance, there was the alternative of elimination of the hotel or reduction of residential units and hotel rooms. So I think for those who will be commenting in the future, that it'd be very helpful for folks to weigh in on whether or not those alternatives are something that would be something that you would want us to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? I think my comment's going to be, we're starting to see more and more of these large-scale residential projects, and I don't think we've ever gotten or received a report or asked the question, how does this impact our schools? So I think when this comes back to us, that's a question that should be answered, because that's a question I'm going to ask going forward as we get more and more of these residential projects, which are great, which, where, again, residential, our city has been begging for residential units, but I think at the same time we have to ask ourselves what schools are going to be impacted or not impacted, but that's just a question. Any other comments? Seeing none, this hearing's closed. We're going to move on to oral communications. Anyone here to speak at oral communication? Seeing none. Do you have any reports?
No, we do not.
Have we had an opportunity to review the minutes? If we have, can we get the appropriate motion? Anyone? Bueller?
I can make I reviewed. I'll make a motion. Is this for a motion to approve?
Yes.
Yes, I can make a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Anyone abstaining? We got one abstention.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? No opposition. Thank you very much. Items from the planning board. Planning board members may introduce new items for discussion, but no action may take place except to put it on a future agenda. And I think I'm going to bring up the school board, the school question. I think we should have some kind of knowledge as to how are these projects not affecting our schools. To be honest with you, I have no idea if our schools are at capacity or they're not at capacity. And as a board member and a decision maker, I think we should have that information and maybe a report as to how our schools are doing. Are we lacking participants or are we not?
So there is, as you go through the draft EIR, you'll see there's actually a section that deals specifically with project impacts to school capacity. And I know every year the school itself does an assessment because they look at potential development impact fees as part of that. So they actually calculate what existing enrollment is and what capacity is as part of that. So there is a staff report that they've prepared when they do their analysis. We've subsequently, as a city, done some additional research. But when we go through the environmental impact report, when we respond to that comment, we will clarify, because there is some existing capacity at the different schools, and the school district looks at the same development projects. We actually forward those to the school district for them to review. So they've actually looked at it, and they apply a particular multiplier to the project depending on the size of the units. And then we also have what we issue, I guess, are vouchers for enrollment for outside students from the city. And there's approximately over 1,300 vouchers. And those are in essence spread out throughout the different schools. So we'll provide you an analysis of that. But effectively, under state law, if they pay their development impact fee, they've met their obligation. But optics being that, is there really potential for students to occupy those schools in the future? We'll come back with a report, but I can tell you, yes, there is.
Yeah, because I was looking at this project, and it's split it's in a weird location. So, what schools are going to be affected? Is it Miller, or is it Disney, or I was curious as to which schools would be impacted by a project like this, because it's kind of right in the middle of both. So,
and one thing to start kind of thinking about it is, I know it's a large document to go through, but if you go into the section that talks about specifically schools, you'll see the schools that they looked at in the analysis, so you can see where they're at. So if you have further questions, let us know. We'll follow up on that as well.
Okay. City planner comments.
I think we filled our quota last time, so I'll keep it short and say no. We don't have any more comments.
Okay, we're going to adjourn this meeting to May 13th, 2019. Thank you all for participating.